According to Section 2, Letter E of the Republic Act 7277 or the Magna Carta for persons with disabilities, to facilitate integration of disabled persons into the mainstream of society, the state shall advocate for and encourage respect for disabled persons. The state shall exert all efforts to remove all social, cultural, economic, environmental, and attitudinal barriers that are prejudicial to disabled persons. Meanwhile, in Section 12, the state is tasked to take into consideration the special requirements of disabled persons in the formulation of education policies and programs. Finally, in Section 22, it is said that television stations shall be encouraged to provide a sign language inset or subtitles in at least one news program a day and special program covering events of national significance. Yet, despite these, the Filipino deaf community still saw a necessity to draft bills that would answer specifically to their needs.
So, based on the ideas that we have gathered among the deaf community, within the deaf community, we decided to suggest na sana magkaroon to have an inset sa news programs and to have the sign language interpreters. So we gathered signatures from the churches, from the schools, from different organizations from all over the Philippines, and we all agreed to campaign for the House bill and then propose it to Bayan and Representative.
Bayan Muna Party List agreed to sponsor the bills proposed by the deaf community. On February 2, 2011, Bayan Muna filed House Bill 4121, or the Sign Language Insets for News Programs Act of 2011, while last May 12, 2011, it subsequently filed House Bill 4631, or the Court Interpreters for Persons with Disabilities Act. House Bill 4121 seeks to amend the Magna Carta for Persons with Disabilities to require all local television stations to provide a sign language inset and, if possible, subtitles in at least 2 newscast programs a day.
Some of the deafs kasi, sa experience na nila kasi na wala talaga silang alam when it comes to news. Kaya, so, issues about what's happening around, so how to protect their rights, how to save their lives in case of emergencies. So they thought of proposing a house bill to be put in news programs just in case na to help them understand what's happening sa weather, what's happening around.
Meanwhile, according to Dr. Liza Martinez, president of the Philippine Deaf Resource Center, House Bill 4631 arose from a loophole in 2 previous Supreme Court memoranda.
Meron kasi tayong isang there's only one Supreme Court policy, yung Memorandum 59-2004, na it says, this was passed during the time of Chief Justice Davide. Sabi niya, yung memorandum, if there is a deaf person who is involved in a case, and there is a need to understand this person, then the court needs to provide a sign language interpreter, and the cost of that will be borne by the trial court. So basically yun lang, very skeletal yung policy. It's 2004. There was a succeeding circular in 2007, pero basically it said the same thing. Dinagdagan lang niya na sabi niya kung yung interpreter manggagaling sa ibang probinsya, ganun, kailangan gastusan yung kanyang per diem. Ang problema doon, pag you really examine the way the policy is worded, it says that if a deaf person needs to be understood, which goes back to the basic question of communication is two-way. Hindi nangangailangan ng interpreter sa court para lang maintindihan yung senyas ng deaf.
House Bill 4631 enumerated the guidelines and qualifications for the courts in hiring interpreters and addressing the grievances of both the interpreter and the deaf individual. Finally, the recognition of Filipino Sign Language, or FSL, as the national sign language of the deaf will open new doors in the recognition of the deaf community as a minority group that has its own language and culture.
In practical terms, pag nag-declare kasi ng national sign language say FSL, it will have impact on certain policies. Let's say in education. If you look at the bill, under sa education, may impact yan on getting deaf teachers into the public school system. Kasi while you're working at trying to improve yung sign language skills ng hearing teachers, that will take some time. So parang affirmative action, dali, get the deaf role models into the classroom. So at least you have that. Then may impact yan on training and evaluation.
The House bill was filed on April 12, 2012. Aside from its use in the education of the deaf, the proposed act also mandates the use of FSL in public services and transactions like health centers, courts, and workplaces. House Bill 4121 is currently pending in the Committee on Public Information, while House Bill 4631 is at the Committee on Justice and House Bill 6079 with the Committee on Social Services.
So, the government has been seeing activities, or kumbaga pang to. Pero, yun nga, hindi namin maramdaman na meron na silang ginagawa. Pero, we're continuing para doon. So meron namang mga benefits. So, we are really pushing the government to pay attention dun sa aming mga pleas. So, they really should give attention. They really should be aware and alert sa this. Ngayon, hindi proactive ang government. Parang hindi naman nila nakikita yung need. Although, in reality, talagang malaking pangangailangan ng community at lumalalim pa yung pangangailangan ng community. So, lumalaki rin yung mga problema namin sa na kailangan bigyan attention ng